So Joseph had been sold as a slave to Potiphar, one of Pharaoh's officers. Pharaoh was the most important man in all of Egypt. Joseph was now lonely and friendless and living in a strange land. At first, Joseph was given all the really hard jobs to do while working for Potiphar. But he worked hard and did everything he was told to do. Soon Potiphar realised that Joseph could be trusted and so made him chief servant of his entire household. But just as life was getting better for Joseph, he was accused of something he didn't do. Nasty lies were told to Potiphar about Joseph, and Potiphar was so angry with Joseph, he wouldn't even let Joseph explain. And so Joseph was thrown into prison. But even in prison, Joseph didn't give up. He worked hard and was soon put in charge of the other prisoners. But oh, how he longed to be free. In prison with Joseph were two of Pharaoh's servants, the chief butler and the chief baker. Joseph noticed that they looked very worried, and he asked them, "What's up?" They said to him, "We both had strange dreams last night, and there's no one to explain what they mean." "What did you dream?" said Joseph. The chief butler spoke first. "In my dream, I saw a vine with 3 branches. It grew buds which blossomed and ripened into grapes and squeezed their juice into Pharaoh's cup. Then I took the cup and gave it to the Pharaoh." Joseph explained the dream. The 3 branches stand for 3 days. Before 3 days are up, Pharaoh will send for you and you will get your job back as chief butler. When you get your job back, will you tell Pharaoh about me? Please help me to get out of here. I have done nothing wrong." The chief butler was so pleased. He promised Joseph that he would tell Pharaoh about him. Next, the chief baker hurried to tell Joseph his dream, hoping he would hear good news too. He said, "In my dream there were 3 baskets resting on my head, one on top of the other. Each basket had bread in it, and the top basket was full of all kinds of food, but birds were flying down and eating from the top basket." Then Joseph explained the chief baker's dream. He said sadly, "The 3 baskets also stand for 3 days. Within 3 days, Pharaoh will send for you, but it won't be good news, because he will sentence you to death." The poor baker was terrified. 3 days passed, and Pharaoh did send for the chief butler and the chief baker. Sure enough, it was just as Joseph had said. The poor baker was put to death, all because he had made Pharaoh angry. But the chief butler was given back his job. However, once safely out of prison, he forgot all about poor Joseph. Until one night, Pharaoh himself had a dream. Pharaoh sent for all his wise men. He was worried. "I have had 2 dreams," he said. "In the first, I was standing by the river Nile when 7 healthy fat cows came out of the water and began to graze on the riverbank. As I watched, 7 thin and unhealthy looking cows came out of the water and ate the healthy cows." Pharaoh shivered. "In my second dream, I saw 7 good ears of corn growing on one stalk. Then 7 thin ears of corn sprouted on the stalk and swallowed up the good ears of corn. Tell me, someone, what do these dreams mean?" But none of Pharaoh's wise men could tell him what the dreams meant, and they were getting worried that they might end up in prison too. Just then the chief butler, who had been in prison with Joseph, remembered that Joseph could explain dreams. The chief baker went to Pharaoh and told him all about Joseph, who was still in prison. "Bring him to me at once," ordered Pharaoh. Joseph was brought out of the prison. "Get ready," he was told. "Pharaoh has sent for you." Excitedly, Joseph did as he was told. Next moment, hardly able to believe it, Joseph found himself standing in the palace of the Pharaoh. Pharaoh said to him, "I have heard that you can explain dreams." Joseph replied nervously, "Well, it's not me, but my God who will tell me what your dreams mean." Joseph listened while Pharaoh described his dreams. Then Joseph said to Pharaoh, "The two dreams have the same meaning. The 7 fat cows and the 7 good ears of corn mean that Egypt will have 7 years when the harvests are good. But the 7 thin cows and the 7 thin ears of corn mean that the good years of harvest will be followed by 7 years of famine, and then there will be no food anywhere in the land." Pharaoh was even more worried. 7 years of famine? All his people would die. Joseph could see that Pharaoh was troubled. He said nervously to Pharaoh, "God has shown you this in a dream so that the people won't starve. You must find a trustworthy man and put him in charge of all of Egypt so that your orders will be carried out. During these 7 good years of harvest, you should command that some of the grain is stored in barns so that when the famine comes, there will be enough food to keep the people alive." Pharaoh began to smile. "That is a good plan, and since it is through you, Joseph, that God has spoken, and since in all of Egypt I know of no one wiser than you, you shall be in charge, Joseph. Everyone will obey you, and you will only have to answer to me." Pharaoh took his ring and put it on Joseph's finger. Joseph's time of loneliness and sadness was over. Now he wore fine clothes and rode in a chariot. Everyone knew Joseph, and they bowed down to him. During the 7 years of good harvest, Joseph travelled through Egypt, making sure that the grain was stored properly. But then, just as Joseph had said, the famine came, and there was no food growing in the land of Egypt. The people cried to Pharaoh, "We are so hungry and there's no food." But Pharaoh replied, "Do as Joseph tells you, and you will be fed." Then Joseph ordered the grain stores to be opened up. People came from miles around to Egypt to buy corn because there was a shortage of food everywhere. Even in the land of Canaan, where Joseph's brothers and his father Jacob lived, there was famine, and the people were hungry.